He nearly died protecting her, the alien queen declared. My daughter will be yours, human. He was one of the first humans sent to negotiate with the Zythurians, a proud and powerful alien race. Their civilization was older than humanity by thousands of years, and their ships, technology, and society reflected centuries of refinement. Humans, in comparison, were young, inventive, and unpredictable. Elias had trained for this mission for years. Diplomacy, alien culture, combat tactics, he had studied it all. But nothing could have truly prepared him for the moment when he first set foot in the Zythurian capital, a sprawling city that shimmered with metal and crystal towers under twin suns. The air was crisp, tinged with the faint scent of alien flora, and the streets were alive with beings of every imaginable shape and size. Some floated gracefully above the ground, while others moved on many limbs, their skin gleaming in colors Elias could not name. The palace stood at the center of the city, a monumental structure of silver and sapphire, surrounded by gardens that seemed to float on terraces. The Zythurians considered their palace not just a home, but a symbol of their civilization's unity and honor. Elias had been warned to behave with respect and caution. Every step he took would be scrutinized. He was escorted by Lithuanian guards, tall and elegant, their movements precise and fluid. They spoke in a melodic language, but a translator device allowed him to understand each word. Captain Kane, said the lead guard, a female Zythurian named Velira, the queen wishes to see all guests at the formal hall. You will be presented after the tour of the palace gardens. Elias nodded, trying to hide his excitement. This was the moment he had prepared for, humanity's first real chance to make friends with a major galactic power. As they walked through the gardens, Elias marveled at the beauty around him. Flowers glowed faintly under the sun's light, and strange birds with translucent wings sang in harmony. Waterfalls poured into crystal pools, and bridges made of shimmering metal arched gracefully over streams. He had never seen anything like it. Captain, Velira said, her voice calm but firm, the palace gardens are not just for beauty. They are a place of meditation and practice for the royal family. You must tread carefully. I understand, Elias said. I'll be careful. But despite his caution, curiosity got the better of him. As they moved further, he noticed a secluded area behind a grove of luminous trees. There, in a quiet courtyard, a figure moved with incredible speed and grace. It was a young Zythurian, her skin a soft shade of violet, her hair silver like starlight. She was practicing a series of fluid combat movements, a blend of martial art and dance. Each strike was precise, each movement deliberate. Elias could not look away. Who is she? He whispered to Velira. That is Princess Liara, she replied softly. You must not approach. The princess values privacy during her practice. Only those invited may enter. But before Elias could step back, his foot caught on a root and he stumbled, landing clumsily a few steps away from the princess. His sudden appearance startled her, and for a moment her eyes widened. In a blink her hands moved to her weapons, small energy blades that glowed with a pale blue light. Step back, Liara warned, her voice sharp. Elias froze. He raised his hands in surrender. I am not here to harm you, he said. I'm Captain Elias Kane, a human envoy. I didn't mean to intrude. The princess did not lower her weapons. Humans are not welcome here, she said. Her voice was firm, yet there was curiosity beneath her caution. I understand, Elias said, slowly backing away. I'll leave immediately. But before he could retreat, a sudden noise erupted behind the grove, a harsh, metallic clanging followed by guttural shouts. Elias turned to see several figures emerging from the shadows. They were Zythurians too, but their armor was different, darker, and their faces twisted with anger. Rebel markings covered their chests. Elias' heart raced. These were no ordinary intruders, they were attackers, and they were coming straight for the princess. Liara's eyes widened, and in that instant, Elias knew he had to act. He could not leave her to face them alone. "Move behind me," he shouted, stepping forward. The princess hesitated but quickly obeyed. The first rebel lunged, brandishing a short energy spear. Elias dodged instinctively, using techniques he had learned during combat training. He grabbed a nearby branch, swinging it to block an attack. Sparks flew as the alien weapon struck the wood, and Elias' adrenaline surged. Liara moved alongside him, her movements a blur. Together they fought, not perfectly but with determination. Elias used his human unpredictability to his advantage. Where the rebels expected precise, formal attacks, he acted in ways they could not anticipate. One attacker managed to strike Elias' shoulder with a glancing blow, and pain shot through him. He gritted his teeth but kept moving, keeping his body between Liara and danger. Another rebel lunged at her, but Elias intercepted with a swift kick that sent the alien stumbling back. Liara's eyes widened in surprise. You fight differently," she said, her voice low. "I fight to survive," Elias replied, ducking under another strike. The battle was chaotic. Energy blades clashed, sparks flew, and Elias could hear the rebels shouting in their alien language. Despite his injuries, he refused to back down. His mind worked quickly, analyzing the attackers' patterns and predicting their next moves. He directed Liara toward a narrow corridor, forcing the attackers into a choke point where they could not all attack at once. Finally, with a combination of agility, quick thinking, and raw courage, Elias and Liara managed to fend off the attackers long enough for palace guards to arrive. The rebels, seeing reinforcements, retreated into the shadows. Elias stumbled to the ground, exhausted and wounded but alive. Liara rushed to his side, her hands hovering over him. "Are you hurt badly?" she asked, concern in her voice. "I'll live," he said, panting. "Thanks to you and you to me." For the first time, Liara looked at him not as a stranger, but as someone she could trust. She noticed the determination in his eyes, the courage that went beyond physical strength. This human, so different from anyone she had ever known, had risked everything to protect her. From a balcony above, Queen Zarithia watched the scene unfold. Her sharp eyes studied Elias carefully. He was human, yes, but there was something remarkable about him, a combination of courage, quick thinking, and selflessness. He had faced danger without hesitation, protecting her daughter from harm. The Queen's advisors whispered among themselves, astonished by the events. Humans had always been considered unpredictable and weak compared to Zythurians. Yet here was one, standing unbowed after facing armed rebels and shielding the princess. After ensuring Liara was safe, the palace guards helped Elias to a medical chamber. His wounds were treated with advanced Zythurian healing technology. The pain was still there, but his resolve remained unbroken. Later, as he rested, Liara entered the room. She sat beside him, her violet eyes studying him closely. "Captain Kane," she began softly, "you saved my life today. Not many would do what you did." Elias looked at her and managed a weak smile. "I couldn't let anyone hurt you. It wasn't just duty, it was the right thing to do." Liara nodded slowly. She had always been trained to trust very few people, but something about this human felt different. Brave, clever, and honorable, qualities rare even among her own people. Queen Zarithia appeared then, her presence commanding and serene. "Captain Kane," she said, her voice echoing with authority, "you have done what most would not. You have protected my daughter at great personal risk. For that, I owe you my gratitude and my trust." Elias rose as best as he could, bowing respectfully. "Your Majesty, I am honored, but I am just a human. I did what anyone would do." The Queen's eyes narrowed slightly, and a faint smile touched her lips. "Humans may not be as strong or as skilled as Zythurians, but courage is not measured in strength alone. Today, you have shown a rare and precious quality. Remember this, Captain. Some actions speak louder than any words, no matter how noble they may seem." Elias felt a mix of pride and humility. He had survived, yes, but more importantly, he had earned a place in the eyes of a civilization that had long doubted humans. As night fell over the palace, the twin suns dipping below the horizon, Elias gazed out at the city. He knew that this was only the beginning. The Zythurians would be watching him closely, testing him in ways he could not yet imagine. But for now, he had proven that humans were not to be underestimated. And somewhere deep in the palace, Princess Liara watched him, a spark of admiration and curiosity in her eyes. The human had saved her life, and in doing so, had unknowingly opened the door to a future that neither of them could yet foresee. The stars above the Zythurian capital shone brightly, and for the first time, Elias felt a true connection, not just to one alien, but to an entire world that was beginning to see humans in a new light. The following morning, the Zythurian palace was alive with a different energy. Word of Captain Elias Kane's courage had spread quickly through the halls and gardens. Even the quietest servants spoke in hushed tones of the human who had faced armed rebels without hesitation, protecting the princess at great personal risk. In a civilization that valued honor above all else, this human had earned attention. Elias awoke in a softly lit chamber, his body still sore from the previous day's battle. Advanced Zythurian healing technology had treated his injuries swiftly, but the lingering ache reminded him that danger was never far away in this palace. As he sat up, Liara entered the room without knocking, a rare sign of trust. "You're awake," she said, her violet eyes examining him closely. "The palace is buzzing. Everyone is talking about you." Elias gave a small, tired smile. "I don't know if I should be proud or worried." Liara chuckled softly, the sound delicate and musical. "Proud, I think." "Humans are unusual, Captain Kane. I didn't expect one to act as you did." He shrugged. "I just did what I thought was right. If someone attacked you, I couldn't stand by." Liara's expression softened. "It's rare, even among my people, to see such courage. Most would hesitate or calculate the risk before acting. You just acted." Elias nodded. "Sometimes thinking too much can be dangerous. I've learned that." The moment was quiet for a few seconds, both of them reflecting. Then the door opened and two palace guards announced, "Your Highness, the Queen requests the presence of Captain Kane in the throne room." Liara's eyes widened slightly. I will come with you," she said quickly. "I should be there too." Elias shook his head. "No, Princess. The Queen wants to speak with me alone. You've done enough for one day." Liara hesitated but eventually nodded. "Very well, be careful," she whispered. The hallway to the throne room was long and grand. Light reflected off walls of polished crystal, casting shimmering patterns on the floor. Elias could feel every eye in the palace upon him, though he was surrounded by guards who escorted him. The whispers, the stares, the subtle glances of curiosity, all reminded him that humans were still outsiders here. When he entered the throne room, he was struck by its majesty. Queen Zarithia sat upon her throne, a figure of authority and elegance. She was taller than any human could be, her presence commanding the attention of everyone in the room. Her violet skin glowed softly in the ambient light, and her eyes, sharp and intelligent, focused entirely on him. "Captain Elias Kane," she began, her voice calm but carrying undeniable power, "yesterday you did something extraordinary." Elias bowed deeply. "Your Majesty, I was only trying to protect Princess Liara. It was necessary." The Queen's gaze did not waver. "Necessary, yes. Brave, yes, but you have done more than that. You have acted with honor and courage in a place where most would have faltered. You have proven that humans are capable of qualities that even my own people value deeply." Elias felt a mixture of pride and unease. Compliments from a Zythurian monarch were rare and weighty. "Thank you, Your Majesty," he said carefully. "I am honored to serve in whatever way I can." Zarithia's eyes softened, and for the first time a faint smile appeared on her lips. "Captain Kane, I have observed many beings throughout this galaxy. Some are clever, some are strong, Some are skilled in diplomacy. Few possess the courage and selflessness you displayed. Few would risk their own lives for another, especially someone of my royal family." Elias shifted slightly, unsure how to respond. "I am not seeking reward, Your Majesty. I did what I believed was right." The Queen leaned forward slightly, her gaze intense. "Captain Kane, the action you took yesterday has changed much. You have earned a place not only in my eyes but in the hearts of those who witnessed your bravery. You have my respect and my trust." There was a pause, the weight of her words filling the room. Then, to Elias' astonishment, Zarithia spoke words he never expected. "Captain Kane, my daughter will be yours." Elias froze. His mind raced. "Pardon, Your Majesty," he asked, unsure if he had heard correctly. "My daughter, Princess Liara, will be yours," the Queen repeated, her tone firm. "Not now, of course, not immediately, but in time. You have proven that you are worthy of trust, honor, and courage, qualities essential to anyone who would stand beside my daughter." The room seemed to hold its breath. Humans were outsiders. Zythurian tradition had never allowed an outsider to marry into the royal family. The idea was unthinkable to many in the palace. Yet the Queen had spoken clearly, decisively, and without hesitation. Elias shook his head slightly, still trying to process the words. "Your Majesty, I am honored truly, but I am just a human. I don't know if I can live up to your expectations or hers." Zarithia's eyes held a piercing intensity. "Captain Kane, it is not your lineage that matters but your heart, your courage, and your actions. You have proven that in moments of life and death, you rise to protect others without thought for your own safety. That is what matters. That is why you have earned this consideration." Elias swallowed hard. He felt a mix of fear, pride, and disbelief. I don't know what to say." "Say nothing," the Queen replied. "Actions, not words, will define what comes next. For now, continue to learn our ways, show your respect, and protect my daughter. That is all that is required." Just then, Liara entered the throne room, her presence bright and confident. She stood beside her mother, observing Elias carefully. "Mother," she said, "I see why you honor him. He is different, brave, smart. She paused, looking at Elias. "I trust him." Elias' heart skipped a beat. He had not expected her words, not yet. Humans were outsiders and trust was not easily given, even among allies. But here was a Zythurian princess, acknowledging him not with fear, suspicion, or doubt, but with trust. The Queen's eyes glimmered. "Liara, you may be wary of outsiders, and that is wise, but I ask you to observe Captain Kane closely. Watch how he handles challenges, how he behaves with honor, and how he treats others. Your judgment will be essential." Liara nodded. "I understand, Mother. I will watch." Elias, still stunned, found his voice. "Princess Liara, I do not know how to thank you for your trust. I will do everything in my power to honor it." Liara gave a small smile. "Actions speak louder than words, Captain Kane. Show me, as you have shown my mother." The Queen's declaration set events into motion that would ripple through the palace and beyond. Political factions whispered in the shadows, some skeptical, some openly hostile. Many Zythurians could not understand why their queen would choose to consider a human as a potential partner for her daughter. But Zarithia's word was law, and her eyes were unyielding. Over the next days, Elias began to navigate palace life in a way he had never experienced before. He trained alongside Liara, learning Zythurian combat techniques, studying their diplomacy, and observing their traditions. Every step he took was scrutinized, every action noted. Yet with each passing day, he proved that humans were capable not just of survival, but of brilliance, courage, and integrity. Liara and Elias began to spend more time together. Their initial awkwardness gave way to mutual respect. She learned about human culture, his life on Earth, and his unique ways of thinking. He, in turn, studied Zythurian etiquette, strategy, and the deep value they placed on honor. Together, they discovered that, despite their differences, they shared a love for adventure, problem-solving, and protecting those who could not protect themselves. One evening, after a long day of training and study, Elias and Liara stood on a balcony overlooking the city. The twin suns dipped below the horizon, casting shades of pink and purple across the sky. "Captain Kane," Liara said softly, "my mother's words, they surprise me. Humans are not considered equals in many ways, yet I see why she trusts you." Elias smiled faintly. "I don't know if I'm worthy, Princess, but I promise I'll do everything I can to earn that trust every single day." Liara looked at him, her eyes reflecting the fading light. "I believe you already have, in ways neither of us expected." The palace, with all its grandeur, political intrigue, and hidden dangers, suddenly seemed a little less intimidating. For Elias, it was no longer just a mission. It was the beginning of something larger, a journey where human courage and ingenuity could bridge worlds, challenge tradition, and earn respect even in the most unexpected places. And somewhere deep in the palace, Queen Zarithia watched them from afar, a satisfied expression on her face. Her choice had been bold, unprecedented, but she sensed that Elias Kane was not just a human envoy. He was something extraordinary, a bridge between worlds and a protector of her daughter's future. The path ahead would not be easy. There would be challenges, tests of loyalty, and dangers that neither human nor Zythurian could predict. But for the first time in centuries, the palace felt alive with the possibility that courage, honor, and heart could transcend boundaries and forge a new future. And for Elias Kane, a human among the stars, the adventure had only just begun. The days following the Queen's declaration were filled with tension, anticipation, and quiet observation. Captain Elias Kane had entered the palace not just as a human envoy, but now as someone with an extraordinary responsibility. He was expected to earn the respect and trust of an entire civilization. In the Zythurian court, actions spoke louder than words, and every step he took was under scrutiny. Elias began his training with a mixture of fascination and determination. Princess Liara, though wary at first, became both his guide and companion. Her movements were precise, her mind sharp, and her knowledge of Zythurian traditions vast. For every challenge that the palace presented, she offered insight, sometimes in subtle hints rather than direct instruction. "Humans tend to rush," she remarked one morning as they practiced combat drills. "You have strength and courage, yes, but Zythurians rely on timing, anticipation, and observation. A single misstep can have consequences far greater than you imagine." Elias nodded, adjusting his stance. "I've learned that already, but I also know humans can be unpredictable in ways that might surprise even trained Zythurians." Liara's lips curved into a small smile. "Perhaps that is why your queen sees potential in you." But potential must be tested. Indeed, the palace soon presented a series of tests. These were not merely physical challenges, though combat was part of it. They included puzzles of strategy, negotiations with representatives of different Zythurian clans, and demonstrations of loyalty, patience, and ethical decision-making. Each trial was designed to push Elias beyond what a human could naturally endure. The first trial was a simulation of a battlefield scenario. Using holographic projections, palace instructors placed Elias and Liara in a miniature, controlled version of an enemy assault. They were tasked with defending the city while minimizing civilian casualties. Elias quickly realized that the Zythurians expected flawless execution. Every decision, every movement, had to be precise. He relied on his human creativity, using unconventional tactics to outsmart the simulation's enemies. Liara followed his lead, impressed by his quick thinking. Together, they coordinated attacks, established defenses, and adapted when unexpected obstacles arose. When the simulation ended, the instructors nodded in approval. Elias had not only protected the holographic city, but had also demonstrated an ability to think outside traditional Zythurian methods. "Captain Kane," said one instructor, "your approach is unusual, but effective. Your mind works differently than ours, and yet you have succeeded where many would fail." Elias smiled faintly, feeling a sense of pride, but also realizing that these were only the first of many trials. Over the following days, he faced challenges that tested diplomacy and ethics. He was assigned to negotiate with visiting representatives from rival Zythurian clans who questioned the queen's decision to consider a human for her daughter. These envoys spoke of tradition, heritage, and loyalty. They asked probing questions designed to unsettle him, seeking to expose any weakness in his character. Elias listened carefully, choosing his words with care. "I am not here to change your traditions," he said. "I am here to honor them, to respect them, and to learn. My actions will show whether I am worthy, not my words." His honesty and humility impressed some envoys, though others remained skeptical. He realized that trust could not be demanded. It had to be earned step by step, through consistent behavior and integrity. Meanwhile, the bond between Elias and Liara grew stronger. Beyond training and trials, they shared moments of quiet conversation. They spoke of their childhoods, their hopes, and the different worlds they had come from. Elias told her of Earth, of humans' resilience and adaptability. Liara shared stories of the palace, the honor code of the Zythurians, and the weight of expectations placed upon her as the queen's daughter. One evening, as the twin suns set and cast golden light across the palace gardens, Liara turned to him. "Captain Kane, I have seen many who come here claiming to be brave or honorable. Few remain true under pressure. You have remained true." Elias looked at her, meeting her gaze. "I do not know if I am as honorable as you think." "I only know that I do not turn away from what must be done," she nodded. "That is what makes you different. That is what makes you trustworthy." Despite growing respect, challenges continued. A senior palace advisor, a Zythurian named Velker, approached Elias one day with a critical assignment. "Captain Kane," he said, his tone sharp, "you have demonstrated courage, yes, but now you must prove wisdom. A situation has arisen in the eastern sector. Two clans dispute over territory. If mishandled, it could lead to violence. You are to mediate without using force." Elias accepted the challenge. On the way to the disputed area, Liara accompanied him. "Remember," she advised, "this is about understanding, not dominating. Listen, observe, respond carefully." The clans were wary of outsiders. When Elias arrived, he could feel the tension in the air. Leaders of each clan stood tall, their expressions guarded. Weapons were discreetly at their sides, a subtle reminder of the potential for conflict. Elias began by listening. He asked questions not to challenge but to understand each clan's concerns. He noted patterns in their speech, subtle gestures, and points of pride. Slowly, he guided the discussion toward compromise, highlighting shared values and benefits of cooperation rather than conflict. It was not easy. The clans tested him, questioning his authority, his understanding, and his intentions. Yet Elias remained calm, patient, and respectful. His human perspective, unclouded by the centuries-old grudges of the clans, allowed him to propose solutions that no Zythurian might have thought of. By the end of the negotiation, both clans agreed to a provisional accord. The queen's advisors later praised him, noting that he had not only avoided violence but had strengthened alliances that were vital for the stability of the region. Through these trials, Elias discovered a deeper truth. Humans had a unique advantage. They were adaptable, creative, and unafraid to approach problems differently. While Zythurians relied on tradition and experience, humans relied on ingenuity and courage. This combination, he realized, made humans formidable in unexpected ways. Liara observed all of this with growing admiration. She began to see the human not just as a protector, but as a partner, someone who could stand beside her and face challenges in ways that were complementary to her own strengths. She shared her thoughts with him one evening as they walked through the palace gardens. "Captain Kane," she said, "I have watched you closely. Your courage is clear, but what I admire most is your mind. You do not rely on strength alone. You think, adapt, and protect not just yourself but others. That is rare." Elias looked at her, touched by her words. "I have learned a lot from you too, Princess. Your skills, your insight, and your honor. You make me want to be better, to rise to the challenge." Their partnership became evident to everyone in the palace. Guards, advisors, and even other nobles began to recognize the synergy between human and Zythurian. Where Liara brought precision, experience, and tradition, Elias brought ingenuity, courage, and a fresh perspective. Together they were stronger than either alone, but not all were pleased. Some factions in the palace whispered behind closed doors, questioning the queen's decision. "A human cannot truly understand us," they murmured. "How can he ever be worthy?" Others feared change, fearing that humans might disrupt centuries of tradition. Yet the queen's word was firm, and her observation of Elias' actions had made a lasting impression. One day, a test unlike any other arrived. The queen herself summoned Elias to the central hall. She explained that a neighboring planet had sent a delegation, seeking alliances, trade, and advice. Elias was tasked with representing the palace in discussions that could affect the fate of multiple civilizations. "This is not just diplomacy," the queen said. "It is a test of character, of judgment, and of the qualities that earned you my notice. Fail, and you risk more than just reputation. Succeed, and you show why humans may walk beside Zythurians as equals." Elias felt a mixture of anxiety and determination. This was no longer a simulated trial. It was real, with real consequences. Liara stood beside him, offering guidance, encouragement, and quiet confidence. In the council chamber, Elias faced beings of all shapes and sizes, each representing different interests and priorities. The discussion was complex, with conflicting demands, subtle manipulations, and hidden agendas. Yet Elias navigated it with patience, reasoning, and a calm persistence that surprised even seasoned Zythurian diplomats. By the end of the day, the delegation expressed satisfaction, praising the palace for its fairness and intelligence in handling delicate matters. Elias had succeeded where many might have failed. More importantly, he had proven that humans, though young in comparison to Zythurians, could act with wisdom, courage, and integrity beyond expectation. As night fell, Elias and Liara returned to the palace gardens. The twin moons rose in the sky, casting silver light over the crystalline pathways. For a moment the world seemed still, peaceful, and full of possibilities. "You've done well," Liara said softly, "more than I could have expected." Elias shook his head. "I could not have done it without your guidance, and your trust. That means more than anything." Liara smiled faintly. "Then we understand each other better now. Humans and Zythurians working together, perhaps we can accomplish more than either alone." Elias nodded, feeling a deep sense of purpose. He had begun as an envoy, a representative of humanity, unsure if he could truly earn respect among the stars. Now he had become something more, a symbol of courage, trust, and partnership between worlds. Yet he also knew the journey was far from over. Challenges lay ahead, political intrigue, hidden dangers, and the ever-watchful eyes of those who doubted him. But with Liara by his side, and the strength of human determination within him, he felt ready for whatever the future might hold. And somewhere deep within the palace, Queen Zarithia observed her daughter and the human with quiet satisfaction. She had taken a bold step in recognizing Elias' potential, and each trial only confirmed her decision. Humans, she realized, were not just capable, they were extraordinary in ways that even centuries of Zythurian tradition could not fully anticipate. For Elias Cain, the trials of trust were not merely tests. They were lessons, proving that courage, wisdom, and integrity could transcend worlds, and that humans could stand shoulder to shoulder with the galaxy's most powerful civilizations. The journey had only just begun. The palace had begun to settle into a rhythm after Captain Elias Cain's remarkable trials. Humans were still outsiders in the eyes of many Zythurians, but Elias had proven that courage, ingenuity, and integrity could bridge worlds. Princess Liara and Elias had grown closer, their partnership both in training and diplomacy earning quiet respect throughout the palace. Yet peace was fragile. Unknown to most of the palace inhabitants, the rogue faction that had attacked the princess weeks earlier had not vanished completely. They had regrouped, gathering intelligence and seeking weaknesses in the palace's defenses. Their leader, a cunning and ruthless Zythurian named Korvath, bore a personal grudge. He resented the queen's favor toward Elias and the disruption a human presence brought to centuries-old traditions. One evening, as Elias and Liara walked through the crystal-lit gardens, Liara paused, her expression tense. "Elias," she said, "I sense unrest. Something is not right. The rebels, they may be planning another attack." Elias studied her carefully. "Do you have proof, or is it a feeling?" Liara shook her head. "A feeling, but my instincts are rarely wrong. We should be cautious." Elias nodded. "Then we prepare. Better to be ready than caught off guard." They quickly alerted palace security, but Korvath's faction was skilled, striking in secrecy. That very night, alarms sounded throughout the palace. The invaders had breached the eastern perimeter, moving swiftly toward the royal quarters. Elias reacted instantly. He grabbed a Zythurian energy baton from the armory and sprinted toward the threat, Liara at his side. Guards rushed past them, their faces determined but tense. The sound of clashing energy weapons and shouted orders filled the halls. "Keep close," Elias shouted to Liara. "We move together." They encountered the first wave of intruders in the grand corridor leading to the princess's chambers. Elias ducked under a swipe from a long energy spear, rolling to his feet and using his baton to block another attack. Liara's movements were precise and deadly, her blades striking with speed and control. Together, they formed a seamless team, human unpredictability and Zythurian skill complementing each other perfectly. One of the intruders lunged at Liara, attempting to overwhelm her. Elias intercepted, pushing the attacker back and creating space for her to strike. She nodded in gratitude, her eyes reflecting trust and confidence. Despite their success in holding the first wave, Elias knew the attack was coordinated. More intruders were moving through other sections of the palace. He realized that the rebels' goal was not just chaos. They wanted to capture Liara and destabilize the queen's rule. "Liara," he said, breathing heavily, "we need to move to a secure location." "The throne room, it's fortified and has defensive systems. We can regroup there," she nodded. "Lead the way, Elias. I'll follow your plan." The corridor was narrow, forcing the rebels into a single line where Elias and Liara could manage them more effectively. Using strategic movements and coordinated strikes, they slowed the attackers' advance. Elias' human ingenuity was evident. He created makeshift barriers, used reflective surfaces to disorient enemies, and anticipated movements that Zythurian guards might not expect. As they reached the throne room, the palace's automated defenses activated, shields, energy barriers, and warning systems that slowed the remaining invaders. The queen had anticipated possible attacks, but even she was impressed by Elias' ability to lead Liara through the chaos. Inside the throne room, they regrouped with palace guards. The queen appeared beside them, her presence calm but commanding. "You have done well," she said to Elias. "Your human instincts and courage have protected more than my daughter. You have protected the future of this palace." Elias shook his head, panting. "We are not done yet. Korvath and his faction are still out there. They won't give up easily." The queen nodded. Then we will finish this, together. Liara's eyes met Elia's. We have faced danger before, she said. But this is larger. Are you ready? Elias looked at her, determination in his eyes. Always, let's end this before anyone else is hurt. The battle that followed was intense. Corvath and his followers were relentless, but Elias and Liara had learned from their previous encounters. They anticipated attacks, coordinated with palace guards, and used the palace's architecture to their advantage. Elias noticed how the rebels expected conventional tactics, but humans were unpredictable. He leveraged that, creating diversions, setting traps, and striking at critical points. Liara fought alongside him, her precision unmatched. Yet she allowed Elias to take the lead in unconventional strategies, respecting his creativity and ability to adapt quickly. Their combined efforts became a force the rebels could not counter. At one critical moment, Corvath appeared, his energy blade drawn and his presence commanding fear. He advanced toward Liara with lethal intent. Elias intercepted, placing himself between Liara and Corvath. "You will not harm her," Elias said firmly, blocking Corvath's strike. Corvath sneered. "A human dares to challenge me. You are a fool." Elias didn't respond with words, he responded with action. Using quick, unexpected movements, he disarmed Corvath and created an opening for the guards to apprehend him. Liara moved swiftly, ensuring Corvath could not escape. The rest of the faction, seeing their leader captured, quickly surrendered. The palace fell silent, the echo of the battle fading into the walls. Elias and Liara stood together, breathing heavily, sweat and energy residue marking their bodies. The queen approached, her expression a mix of pride and relief. "You have done more than protect my daughter," she said. "You have protected the palace, the kingdom, and the trust I placed in you. Today, you have proven that courage, strategy, and heart can overcome even the most dangerous threats." Elias nodded, exhausted but resolute. "I only did what had to be done, Your Majesty." "Liara's safety, that was my priority," the queen's gaze softened. "And in doing so, you have earned more than my trust. You have earned a place of honor here." Liara looked at Elias, admiration and respect shining in her eyes. "You never gave up," she said. "Even when it seemed impossible, you stood strong. That is why I trust you completely." Elias allowed himself a small smile, though he remained aware of the responsibility that lay ahead. "We are stronger together," he said. "Humans and Zythurians, side by side." The queen nodded. "Indeed. Let this be a lesson to all who doubt that humans can be courageous, clever, and honorable. Captain Kane, you have shown that the strength of character is not limited by species." In the days that followed, the palace slowly returned to normal. The queen held a formal ceremony, recognizing the bravery of Elias and Liara. It was not just a celebration of victory, but a symbol. Humans were not only allies but could be heroes, capable of standing shoulder to shoulder with Zythurians. Elias continued to train with Liara, but now their exercises included planning for potential threats, strategy simulations, and diplomatic missions. Each day, they learned from each other, Liara refining her understanding of human ingenuity, and Elias deepening his knowledge of Zythurian tradition and honor. Their bond grew stronger with every challenge. Respect, trust, and mutual admiration became the foundation of a partnership that was more than survival. It was synergy, a combination of two worlds working together to face challenges no single civilization could handle alone. One evening, Elias and Liara stood once again on the palace balcony, looking out at the city bathed in the twin moons' silver light. The sounds of the palace were calm, the echoes of battle replaced by peace. "You've changed the palace," Liara said softly. "Your courage has inspired many, Captain Kane. Even those who doubted now see possibility." Elias looked at her, feeling the weight of her words. "I only did what was necessary, but I have learned that courage is not enough alone. It must be combined with wisdom, teamwork, and respect, and I could not have done this without you." Liara smiled, a rare softness in her eyes. "Then we have both learned from each other. Humans and Zythurians, side by side, facing the unknown." Elias nodded, feeling a deep sense of purpose. The rogue faction had been defeated, but he knew that the galaxy was vast, full of challenges, mysteries, and threats yet to come. Yet with Liara beside him, and the trust of a civilization now partly earned, he felt ready to face whatever lay ahead. Somewhere within the palace, Queen Zarithia watched her daughter and the human, her expression one of quiet satisfaction. She had placed her trust in Elias Kane, and he had not disappointed. He had proven that humans, though young in the galaxy, were capable of extraordinary courage, ingenuity, and honor. The events of the day were a testament not only to bravery, but to the possibility of unity between species. A human had defended a princess, protected a palace, and earned the respect of an entire civilization. That was no small feat. As night settled over the Zythurian capital, Elias and Liara stood together, ready for the challenges the future might bring. Together, they were more than allies. They were a symbol of what could be achieved when courage, heart, and intelligence joined across worlds. The adventure, they both knew, was far from over. The palace had finally returned to a state of calm. The rogue faction had been defeated, their leader imprisoned, and the threat to Princess Liara's life neutralized. For Captain Elias Kane, the human envoy who had become so much more, this calm was both a relief and a moment to reflect on how far he had come. He was no longer just an outsider. He had proven that humans could be brave, clever, and honorable in ways that earned respect even among the galaxy's oldest civilization. Elias woke early that morning, the soft light of the twin suns streaming through the tall crystal windows of the palace. His injuries from previous skirmishes had fully healed, thanks to Zythurian medical technology, and he felt stronger, sharper, and ready for whatever came next. He glanced toward the balcony and saw Liara standing there, gazing out over the city. Her silver hair glinted in the sunlight, and her violet skin shone softly. For a moment he simply watched her, appreciating the calm after so many days of chaos. "You're awake," Liara said softly, turning to look at him. There was a warmth in her voice that hadn't been there before, a quiet trust and familiarity that had grown between them over weeks of shared trials. "I couldn't sleep," Elias admitted. "Too many thoughts about what comes next." Liara smiled faintly. "The Queen will call us soon. She wishes to formalize your standing, to acknowledge what you've earned." Elias nodded. Formal recognition from the Queen was no small matter. It would solidify his place in the palace and cement the respect he had worked so hard to earn. More importantly, it would signify a bridge between humans and Zythurians, a sign that cooperation and trust could transcend species. When they entered the throne room, Queen Zarithia was waiting, seated with her usual majesty and calm authority. Advisors and palace officials stood at attention along the walls, their faces reflecting respect, curiosity, and cautious optimism. "Captain Kane," the Queen began, her voice echoing through the hall, "you have proven yourself in ways that many never could. You have protected my daughter, preserved the palace, and demonstrated qualities of courage, ingenuity, and integrity that have not gone unnoticed. Today, I formally recognize you not only as an ally but as an esteemed guest of the royal family." Elias bowed deeply, careful to follow Zythurian etiquette. "Your Majesty, I am honored. I will continue to serve in whatever way I can." The Queen's eyes softened as she looked at Liara. "And you, my daughter, have chosen wisely in observing Captain Kane. You see qualities in him that many might overlook. His actions speak louder than words, and his courage and judgment are extraordinary. Together, you demonstrate a partnership that is rare and valuable." Liara stepped forward, her gaze meeting Elias. "I have learned much from Captain Kane," she said, her voice steady. "Not only about courage and strategy, but about trust, respect, and partnership. He has earned my admiration, my confidence, and my friendship." Elias felt a warmth in his chest. Princess Liara, it has been an honor to learn from you as well. Your skill, insight, and bravery are remarkable. I hope to continue proving myself worthy of your trust every day. The queen's expression became resolute. Then let it be known throughout the palace, and to all who would challenge this union, that Captain Elias Kane has earned a place of honor beside my daughter. This is not merely a personal matter, but a symbol of interstellar unity. Let this recognition serve as proof that humans are capable of courage, wisdom, and honor, and that trust can be earned across worlds. Applause echoed through the throne room, not loud or boisterous, but respectful and sincere. Many Zythurians who had doubted humans now looked upon Elias with admiration. The Queen's proclamation had changed perceptions, proving that actions could bridge centuries of tradition and prejudice. After the formal ceremony, the Queen spoke privately to Elias and Liara. "The road ahead will not be without challenges," she said. "But your bond, your courage, and your respect for one another will guide you. You are now representatives not only of yourselves, but of the possibility for greater understanding between humans and Zythurians." Elias nodded solemnly. "We will not disappoint you, Your Majesty. We will face every challenge together side by side." Liara placed her hand lightly on Elias' arm. "We already have, and we will continue to do so." The following weeks were filled with preparation and adjustment. Elias learned more about Zythurian culture, politics, and traditions. He participated in diplomatic missions, assisted with palace strategy, and trained alongside Liara to refine their combat skills. In every action, he demonstrated that humans could adapt, contribute, and thrive, even in a civilization vastly different from their own. Liara, in turn, learned to appreciate human creativity and resourcefulness. She saw how Elias' unpredictable approach could solve problems that tradition alone could not. Together, they became a remarkable team, each complementing the other's strengths and compensating for weaknesses. Their partnership became known throughout the palace as a model of cooperation and mutual respect. One evening, as the twin moons rose and bathed the palace gardens in silver light, Elias and Liara found themselves standing on a terrace overlooking the city. The streets below were quiet, the fountains shimmering, and the air filled with the soft hum of palace life. "You've changed the palace," Liara said softly, her eyes reflecting the moon's light. "Your courage and your decisions, they've inspired many. Even those who doubted now see the possibilities." Elias smiled faintly. "I couldn't have done it alone. You've been my guide, my partner, and my friend. Everything we've achieved, every challenge we've faced was together." Liara nodded. "Yes. And that is why we can face the future with confidence. Humans and Zythurians, side by side, working together. We are stronger together than we are apart." Elias looked at her, a deep sense of purpose and belonging filling his chest. "I never imagined I would find this, trust, respect, and friendship in a place so far from home, but I have, and I will honor it every day." The months that followed brought continued challenges and opportunities. Other planets and civilizations took notice of the unusual alliance. Trade agreements, scientific collaborations, and diplomatic negotiations were strengthened by the human-Zythurian partnership. Elias' courage and ingenuity became a symbol of what humans could achieve, while Liara's guidance and insight highlighted the value of experience, tradition, and discipline. Together, they embarked on missions to neighboring star systems, combining human adaptability with Zythurian precision. Each success reinforced the idea that cooperation between species could achieve extraordinary results. One day, as they returned from a diplomatic mission, the Queen summoned them once more. "Captain Kane, Princess Liara," she said, her voice proud, "your partnership has done more than protect my daughter or secure alliances. It has set an example for the galaxy. Humans are no longer seen as outsiders, they are allies, capable of honor and courage beyond expectation. Your union is not only personal but symbolic, and I officially bless it." Elias and Liara exchanged glances, a mix of pride, joy, and humility in their expressions. "Thank you, Your Majesty," Liara said. "We will continue to honor this trust every day." Elias bowed. "We are honored, Your Majesty. Together, we will protect, serve, and build a future where humans and Zythurians work side by side." With the Queen's blessing, the palace formally celebrated their engagement. The event was unlike any other, blending Zythurian tradition with a respect for human customs. Beings from multiple civilizations attended, witnessing not just the joining of two individuals but the promise of interstellar unity. Throughout the celebration, Elias noticed how far he had come. The journey had started as a mission of diplomacy, but it had become a testament to human courage, adaptability, and integrity. He had faced danger, navigated complex politics, and earned the trust of one of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations. And he had done it not alone but with Liara by his side. As the festivities continued, Elias and Liara stood together on a balcony, looking out over the city and the stars beyond. The twin moons reflected in their eyes, a symbol of light, hope, and possibility. "You've changed my life, Elias," Liara said softly. "And perhaps in some ways you've changed this entire palace. Humans are extraordinary." Elias smiled, feeling the weight of her words. "We've changed it together. I have learned much from you, and I hope to continue learning every day." The city below shimmered, peaceful and secure, a reminder of the battles they had faced and the unity they had achieved. The palace had become more than a fortress or a home. It was now a symbol of what courage, trust, and partnership could accomplish across worlds. Queen Zarithia watched from her chambers, her expression one of satisfaction. She had taken a bold step in placing her trust in a human, and it had been rewarded. Elias Kane was not only a protector and a partner to her daughter, but a bridge between civilizations, proof that humanity could rise to greatness even among the stars. As night settled over the Zythurian capital, Elias and Liara remained together on the balcony, their hands brushing, a quiet bond forming between them. They knew the journey ahead would have challenges, new threats, new missions, and new trials. But they also knew that together, humans and Zythurians could overcome anything. For Captain Elias Kane, the human envoy who had begun as an outsider, the galaxy was no longer a place of uncertainty. It was a place of opportunity, partnership, and trust. And for Princess Liara, the Zythurian heir, he had become not only a protector but a companion, a partner, and a symbol of courage that transcended species. The stars above the Zythurian capital shone brightly, promising new adventures, new alliances, and a future built on honor, respect, and the extraordinary courage of one human who dared to stand beside a princess. Together, they were not just two beings, they were the beginning of a new era.